Welcome to those who've joined. Just giving it a few minutes, allowing people to come in. Hello, Metta. Diego, welcome. Hello, Jake. Hello, Metika. Sindhu. Hello, Stuart. Coming in to say hello from Facebook. This is our first Dhammapalooza in 2 weeks, and I made no posts. I did no marketing for this session, so we'll see how it goes. Oh, hello, Risa. Good to see you. We'll give it another minute or so, then we'll get started. Quick question. I'm going to put myself on mute. Do you see a little mute thing next to the Dhammapalooza when I do it? All right. Thank you, Diego, for the feedback. I guess it just shows on my end. Let's start with some chanting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Savatyang tatra ko bharanchavo bhikkave dese sami bharaharancha bharadanancha bharanikke panacha atang sunatta katamocha bhikkave bharo panchupadana kanda tissa vachaniyang katame pancha Rupupadana kando vedanupadana kando sanyupadana kando sankarupadana kando vinyanupadana kando ayang vucchati bhikkave bharo katamocha bhikkave bharaharo puggalo tissa vachaniyang yavyayang ayasma Evam namo evam goto ayang bucchati bhikkave bharaharo Atamancha bhikkave bharadanang yayang tanha ponu bhavika nandiraga sahagata tatra tatra binendini sayatiddanka matanha bhavatanha vibhavatanha Idang vucchati bhikkave bharadanang Katamancha bhikkave bharanikke panang yo tassayeva tanhaya asesa viraga nirodo chaggo patinissaggo mutti analiyo idang vucchati bhikkave bharanikke panang ti Idang avocha bhagava idang vatvana isugato artapana parang etadavocha sattha barahave panchakanda baraharo cha puggalo baradanang dukang loke bharanikke panang sukang nikipitva garung barung anyang barang anadiya samulang tanhambuya nichato parinibbutoti. All right, English. At Savatthi, there the Blessed One said this, Bhikkhus, I will teach you the burden, the carrier of the burden, the taking up of the burden, and the laying down of the burden. Listen to that. And what bhikkhus is the burden? It should be said the 5 aggregates subject to clinging. What 5? The form aggregate subject to clinging, the feeling aggregate subject to clinging, the perception aggregate subject to clinging, the volitional formations aggregate subject to clinging, the consciousness aggregate subject to clinging. This is called the burden. And what bhikkhus is the carrier of the burden? It should be said the person, this venerable one of such name and clan. This is called the carrier of the burden. And what bhikkhus is the taking up of the burden? It is this craving that leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there. That is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, craving for extermination. This is called the taking up of the burden. And what bhikkhus is the laying down of the burden? It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that same craving, the giving up and relinquishment of it, freedom from it, non-reliance on it. This is called the laying down of the burden. This is what the Blessed One said. Having said this, the Fortunate One, the teacher, further said this. The 5 aggregates are truly burdens. The burden carrier is the person. Taking up the burden is suffering in the world. Laying down the burden is blissful. Having laid the heavy burden down, without taking up another burden, having drawn out craving with its root, one is freed from hunger, fully quenched. Sadhu. All right, friends, who we have here? Let's see. Welcome. Gautam and Bella, welcome. Yankee, Janta, Karen, Jay. All right, friends. So let's see. Let me just unshare the screen here. Welcome, friends, to another Monday night Dhammapalooza, our 2-hour festival of Dhamma with the Maggasekha community, where we come together to share in a variety of Dhamma-related activities, from chanting to meditation and everything in between. So, as many of you know who've been to Dhammapaloozas before, this is a community-guided event, which means that I like to have your input as to how the Dhammapalooza goes through the day. As you can see, when I make the live stream for the Dhammapalooza, I don't put a topic because, well, I don't know what the topic will be yet. So usually how it works is for the next couple minutes, I will leave some time and some space for people to type in the chat a few different things. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer, you can put those in the chat. If you have any topics, Buddhist topics you'd like me to give a talk on, you can put those in the chat. If you have any topics you'd like the community to discuss, you can put those in the chat. So for a few minutes here, I'll leave the chat open and see how things go. And then if nobody has any questions or topics, then we can read a sutta. I do have a sutta lined up. I always have a sutta lined up just in case. This is our first Dhammapalooza in 2 weeks, because last weekend I was in California attending the Bhikkhuni ordination, so I was not able to do this. But so now we're back in the saddle here, back in full swing with Dhammapalooza. So once again, also feel free to talk to each other in the chat, say hello, get to know each other, talk Dhamma to each other. No problem. You're not interrupting me. You're not disrespecting me. This is time for the community to come together. Hello, Daus. Welcome. So, as I said, I will give a few minutes to check the chat, see if anything comes up in the chat. And if nothing comes up, then we'll read a sutta. The chat is very quiet tonight, especially for 17 people. Let's see, who do we have here? Oh, everybody, all the 17 is on YouTube. Karen, yeah, I can speak on that. That's not a problem. Hello, Haolu. All right. Well, so Karen, I will address your topic. It's actually not that complicated. It's not that deep. It just requires a little bit of evaluation of the Pali. Let me share the screen. We'll go to the Majjhima Nikaya, which is probably the most important or the most common way you're going to experience this concept of internal and external. So we have this paragraph here. And so they meditate, observing an aspect of the body internally, externally, and both internally and externally. So there's two important words here. The first is ajatang, and you click on it, you can see ajatang, concerning oneself, in oneself, inwardly, personally, in regard to oneself. So that's internal. What about external? Bahidda, outside, outer. So when one investigates internally and externally, you're investigating in terms of this mind and body and outside this mind and body. This can include the mind and bodies of others, of other beings. If you're investigating form, this could include, inanimate objects, nature, observing the mountains, the trees, etc. These various things. But this is the distinction, the delineation here. Internal is of this mind and body. External is essentially everything else. And so you want to investigate both in relation to this mind and body, but also outside this mind and body. Understanding the minds of others. Right? This is understanding the bodies of others. This is an important aspect of investigating, developing mindfulness and clear comprehension so that you can understand things as they are. Of the mind and body, outside the mind and body. All right. Bante, do you have any recommendations for someone looking to start reading the suttas for the first time, i.e., where to begin? Books to supplement study. I would suggest, in terms of for free things, to go to suttacentral.net. Right? Suttacentral.net, Dhammatalks.net. Is it a .net or is it a .com? I don't know. But I would suggest using these websites. Sutta Central is quite easy. It provides a lot of different like little articles and little tutorials on how to read the suttas and why to get into the suttas and all that kind of stuff. That's what I would suggest. Now, Robert has a good suggestion if you want to spend some money. Then yes, the Bhikkhu Bodhi's In the Buddha's Words is a very, very good beginner book on the suttas. Because Bhante in that book takes a lot of the different themes, from a variety of different major themes in the suttas, and kind of puts them together, gives commentary on them so you kind of understand, and then shows you in the suttas where these teachings are from. So that's a good book. Jay Collett, I've never heard this. Quite honestly, I'd be quite surprised that Ajahn Jeff would say such a thing. Do you have any insight on Ajahn Thanissara's interpretation of a consciousness outside of the five aggregates that doesn't cease at parinibbana? Another opinion. Other ideas would be nice. I don't know. That gets in. To me, this sounds like it gets into a lot of these kind of like Thai foresty, quasi sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see his sutta references. Why that if he does say such a thing, where he backs that up. Other than that, I don't know that I could respond to that, to be honest with you. It's an interpretation of a consciousness outside of the five aggregates that doesn't cease at parinibbana. Yeah, that would be saying some kind of consciousness is not conditioned. And I don't know where that is in the suttas, to be honest with you. Could be wrong, but off the top of my head, that doesn't sound accurate. I would like to, if you have a link to Ajahn Jeff explaining this using sutta references, I would be interested in that. Douse, I guess this is a question. I don't know. It's like 4 or 5 paragraphs. Let me see. I would maybe ask if are different degrees of concentration mindfulness, or if it's just something you turn on. The shadow of mindfulness you mentioned. I mentioned a shadow of mindfulness. I don't know. I know well. It's like a strand of mindfulness that is always there no matter what. Oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah. When I talk about when you develop and you train your mind, then mindfulness is always, even maybe not at the forefront of the mind, but it's always at least in the back, like a shadow that doesn't leave you. Yeah. It's always there no matter what, but it seems like I can turn on something like a switch that makes me clear headed no matter what. It's like it eliminates any present influences of the mind, or just makes me step away from them. Was wondering what it could be. I don't know. I'm not in your mind. I mean, it sounds like you might have some capability to, I don't know what the word, maybe the word squash is not correctly, but you might have some capability to direct the mind towards some kind of mindfulness and concentration. There are different degrees of concentration and mindfulness. It depends on your training. It depends on how long you've been practicing and how deep your practice and training is of those two aspects. The deeper the training, the deeper you can go, both in samadhi and in sati. Rahul says, Bhante, I just finished my first reading of the Majjhima Nikaya and started the Samyutta Nikaya. All right, the best Nikaya. I find it harder to read as it's a lot of smaller sub-suttas. Any tips or ideas for daily reading? On average, I would say for the length it takes you to read one Majjhima Nikaya, if you're reading like one sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya a day, depending on the suttas, because they do vary, but you could probably read 5 of the smaller suttas, between 5 and 10 somewhere. Try to set a number and try to reach that. Obviously, some of the suttas will be longer, but on average, probably 5 would be a good balance. Somewhere between 5 and 10. Samyutta Nikaya, there's a few things. With the Samyutta Nikaya, you have to understand that because it's grouped into topics, you will get 100 pages with every sutta related to the same topic. And so what you will have to do is be very keen to notice what changes from sutta to sutta, because you will read 10 suttas and 90% of each sutta is going to be the exact same thing, but 10% is going to be different. And that's what you have to pay attention to. I really suggest not, when you read the suttas in general, I suggest not skipping the repetition. No matter how much you're kind of going to be averse to it, no matter how much you're going to want to skip it, don't skip it. And this is why it's good to just read a certain amount a day. Right? Because if you're going to say, I'm going to go sit down and read the suttas for an hour, and if you're reading a lot of repetition, your mind is just going to reject it. Your mind's going to be like, okay, I'm done. I can't keep doing this. Hello, Stephanie. Welcome on Facebook. So read a certain number. Don't skip any of the repetition. At least, obviously if the repetition is ellipsed in the sutta, then that when you're reading, that's fine. But whatever's in the sutta, don't skip it. Just read it. Allow your mind to hear the same thing over and over again. That's good. Then your mind will be more pliable and open to understanding the sutta. And you'll be memorizing it. So that's what I would suggest for the Samyutta Nikaya. Yeah. Samyutta Nikaya is theorized by many to be the oldest. And you can see that because there's not a lot of... It's a fairly well understood belief that a lot of the story of the suttas is kind of fluff that was added later. Like, thus have I heard, such and such, Buddha was at Savatthi, such and such and such. You see it, and like when you read the Majjhima Nikaya, you see it kind of flushed out that way. When you read the Samyutta Nikaya, you see most of the suttas don't have that. So you're kind of seeing an old strata in a way. It's like looking at geology and seeing the 10 stratas, looking like at the Grand Canyon or something. You can see, okay, that's the older. And it's very similar in that way. So Robert saying, MM49, consciousness without surface, endless, radiant all around, has not been experienced through the earth, wind, fire. I wonder if that's just talking about like the arupa states, like the beings who are like mind-made beings. I don't know. I don't know that that's necessarily talking about something that exists after parinibbana. I'm not sure. And I'd be highly skeptical of it too. Hello, Tian. Welcome. Possible suggestions for active Dhamma contemplations while walking. Well, if you memorize suttas, if you memorize at least a couple paragraphs, then you can repeat those paragraphs in your mind and contemplate them. Right? That's the great thing about memorizing, especially things that are very impactful for you, like this, like the beginning chant, Bara Sutta. Right? I've mostly memorized at least the verses of that sutta because it's so important, and it's something that I want to have close to me always. Right? So I can say, well, what did the Buddha say? And then I can just sing it. I can just say it, reflect on it, contemplate it in my mind. So that's what I would suggest. Memorize some verses of Dhamma that really connect with you, that you feel are important to you, and then you can reflect on those. I mean, or if you really want, you can think of a Dhamma, you can think of a specific topic, right? And let your mind contemplate it. Tian. Well, it's not just the Q&A session. Q&A is part of Dhammapalooza. But the way things are going, we might just end up reading a sutta soon. Diego, sometimes when chatting with other people, people begin gossiping, bad-mouthing others, or engaging in wrong speech in other ways. How could I deal with this situation? Is it very normalized? It is very normalized. Yeah, this is what the Buddha called water talk of the well. Right? That's what, in modern pop culture in the West, talk of the well is talk around the water cooler. But talk of the well is like in ancient India and actually still in some places today, where you have to go to a well to get your water. People, villagers would go to the village well and they'd wait online, right? As, the people got their water for the day. And you have to do the rope, put your pail down into the well, bring it back up. And so people would be waiting online and they'd start talking about everything. What's going on? Did you hear what such and such did with such and such? Such and such is fighting such and such. I hear the king is doing such and such. This is called talk of the well, water cooler talk. It's called useless talk, useless speech. Sampapalapa. And so when this happens, when you are with other people, then you have a few options. You can skillfully disengage from the conversation and move on your way. Or if you're kind of trapped, you can focus in on your mind and body. Observe the conversation mindfully. And then respond when you feel like you have a mindful, skillful response to add. Or find an opening to change the subject. But in a situation like this, it's very important to have mindfulness. Mindfulness and clear comprehension. Bring your awareness, your focus to the mind and body. You can listen to the conversation. You can understand what's going on. And then you can act skillfully in whatever way works. All right. Hello, Stephanie, Rodney on Facebook. So I don't see anything else in the chat. Maybe we'll read a sutta. Let's read the final going away of Anathapindika. Dow says we need Adriana. Yeah, Adriana has disappeared months ago. Maybe almost 7 or 8 months ago. We have no idea. No one has any contact with her. No idea what happened. That happens every once in a while. I don't know if it's busy, Douse. I don't know. She hasn't, her health was up and down. I don't know. Something happened with her health. I don't know if she just decided she wasn't Buddhist anymore. Who knows? And for those of you who are new, who have joined the Maggasekha community since Adriana disappeared, Adriana was somebody who really helped grow. She was a mod, and she really helped grow this channel, the Maggasekha community, along with Reed. She was a very big fixture on all of the Maggasekha activities for 3 years, 3+ years. She was a mod. Now Reed and Ian are the main mods. And she just stopped. Okay, even I emailed her and sent her a Facebook message out of concern after not hearing from her for a couple months, and no response. It's the way it goes. We actually also had years ago, we had a mod on the Discord from Turkey, Shay. She also was part of the community for a number of years, and then one day just never logged in again. So this is what happens. We don't know. Okay, so let's read the sutta. Advice to Anathapindika. So I have heard. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, the householder Anathapindika was sick, suffering, gravely ill. Then he addressed the man, "Please, mister, go to the Buddha, and in my name bow with your head to his feet. Say to him, Sir, the householder Anathapindika is sick, suffering, gravely ill. He bows with his head to your feet. Then go to Venerable Sariputta, and in my name bow with your head to his feet. Say to him, Sir, the householder Anathapindika is sick, suffering, gravely ill. He bows with his head to your feet. And then say, Sir, please visit him at his home out of compassion. Yes, sir, the man replied. He did as Anathapindika asked. Sariputta consented in silence. Then Venerable Sariputta, robed up in the morning and taking his bowl and robe, went with Venerable Ananda as his second monk to Anathapindika's home. He sat down on a seat spread out and said to Anathapindika, I hope you're keeping well, householder. I hope you're all right. And I hope the pain is fading, not growing. That its fading is evident, not its growing. Hello, Visakha. Welcome. I am not keeping well, Master Sariputta. I'm not all right. The pain is terrible and growing, not fading. Its growing, not its fading, is evident. The winds piercing my head are so severe, it feels like a strong man drilling into my head with a sharp point. The pain in my head is so severe, it feels like a strong man tightening a tough leather strap around my head. The winds slicing my belly are so severe, like a deft butcher or their apprentice were slicing open a cow's belly, open with a meat cleaver. The burning in my body is so severe, it feels like two strong men are grabbing a weaker man by the arms to burn and scorch him on a pit of glowing coals. That's how severe the burning is in my body. I'm not keeping well, Master Sariputta. I'm not all right. The pain is terrible and growing, not fading. Its growing, not its fading, is evident. That's why, householder, you should train like this. I shall not grasp the eye, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the eye. That is how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp the ear, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the ear. I shall not grasp the nose, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the nose. I shall not grasp the tongue, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the tongue. I shall not grasp the body, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the body. I shall not grasp the mind, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the mind. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I will not grasp sight, and there shall be no consciousness of mind depending on sight. I shall not grasp sound. This is actually another place where we see the word internal and external. Internal is the eye. External is the sight. Internal is the ear. External is the sound. Internal is the nose. External is the odor. Taste, touch, thought. And there shall be no consciousness of mind depending on thought. That is how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp eye consciousness, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on eye consciousness. So we're going over the three aspects of contact. The eye, form, and eye consciousness. The meeting of the three is contact. I shall not grasp the eye consciousness, and there shall be no consciousness of mind depending on eye consciousness. I shall not grasp ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness, and there shall be no consciousness of mind depending on mind consciousness. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, mind contact. And there shall be no consciousness of mind depending on mind contact. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp feeling born of eye contact. Feeling born of ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind contact. And there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on feeling born of mind contact. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the air element, the space element, consciousness element. And there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the consciousness element. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp form, feeling, perception, choices, consciousness. There shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on consciousness. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp the dimension of infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, neither perception nor non-perception, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp this world, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on this world. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp the other world, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the other world. See what's happening here. Sariputta knows that Anathapindika is coming to his end, and he's giving him a pointer to not attach to anything. Right? Going through all of these various aspects that we might attach to as me, mine, and myself. Don't attach to this, don't attach to that. Don't see some kind of permanent essence in this. Don't see consciousness in that. Don't attach to any of these things. He's giving him a teaching on how to try to go deeper at the end of his life, how to attain a higher state. I shall not grasp the other world, right? No, I'm going to die. Maybe I want to go to heaven. I shall grasp and attach to heaven. No. And there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the other world. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp whatever is seen, heard, thought, known, sought, and explored by my mind. And there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on that. That's how you should train. When he said this, Anathapindika cried and burst out in tears. Hello, Joy. Welcome. When he said this, Anathapindika cried and burst out in tears. Venerable Ananda said to him, "Are you failing, householder? Are you fading, householder?" He's like, "Are you dying? Are you going?" Anathapindika says, "No, sir. But for a long time I have paid homage to the Buddha and the esteemed mendicants, yet I have never before heard such a Dhamma talk." Householder, it does not occur to us to teach such a Dhamma talk to white-clothed lay people. Rather, we teach like this to those gone forth. So you see here, it's not just in the modern Buddhist countries where monks will only teach lay people dana and sila. Even at the time of the Buddha, there's the understanding, well, we have to kind of teach people where they're at. And so we'll save the deeper stuff for monastics. This is what's been done. But now look at Anathapindika's response. Look at what happens here in this sutta. So, Sariputta says, Householder, it does not occur to us that we teach this Dhamma talk to white-clothed lay people. Rather, we teach it to those gone forth. Well then, Master Sariputta, let it occur to you to teach us a Dhamma talk to white-clothed lay people as well. So we have in the suttas, right, this concept of please teach deeper teachings to lay people. Very important. There are gentlemen with little dust in their eyes. They're in decline because they haven't heard the teaching. There will be those who understand the teaching. And so we have this. Where have we heard this before? Brahma Sahampati with the Buddha, right? After the Buddha became awakened. And he thought, nobody's going to get these teachings are too tough. Everybody's all kind of wrapped up in their sensuality. They're not going to get this. They're not going to hear these teachings. It would be kind of vexing. It'd be kind of exhausting for me to try to teach this. Why don't I just not teach? Right? And Brahma Sampati says, no, please. There are those with little dust in their eyes. And so we have many, many years later. This is maybe 30 years later. Anathapindika on his deathbed saying, there are those with little dust in their eyes. Please teach these teachings to lay people. Don't hide these teachings away from lay people. Now, of course, the Westerners who might hear this is like, of course, we should be able to hear whatever we want. Right? But there are some Buddhist people here, born Buddhist people who were born and raised and have practiced Buddhism their whole life. Maybe they've not heard that before. Maybe they've not come across this sutta before. Right? This is an important sutta for that. This sutta is why I do share advanced teachings with lay people. I know for many lay people, it won't be for them. They'll be fine with just dana and sila. But for those who want to, or who will have benefited from hearing something a little deeper, I do it for them too. So, and when the Venerable Sariputta and Ananda had given the householder Anathapindika this advice, they got up from their seat and left. Not long after that, Anathapindika passed away and was reborn in the host of joyful gods, Tusita. Then late at night, glorious God. So here comes Anathapindika. He has become a deva, and he now comes down to the Buddha. Lighting up the entire Jeta's grove, went up to the Buddha, bowed and stood to one side, and addressed the Buddha in verse. This is indeed that Jeta's grove, frequented by the Sangha of hermits, where the King of Dhamma stayed. It brings me joy. So for those of you who just checking the chat here. For those of you who don't know the story of Anathapindika, so Jeta was a prince, and Anathapindika, which is not his actual name, but a nickname he was given by the town, Anathapindika was the rich man of his day. The Bill Gates, the Elon Musk, what's his name, Jeff Bezos, whatever. I mean, I don't know. He was the richest of the rich. But even before the Buddha, he practiced lots of generosity. And he was given the name Anathapindika, which means giver of alms to poor, to those who are in need. So Anathapindika was very, very rich. He was also very generous. And he was so impacted when he first came across the Buddha and the Sangha that he decided that he wanted to purchase a grove, a place for them to be, so that they could be in safety, so that they would be close to the city, so people could go pay homage and learn. And so he wanted this grove, and the Prince Jeta would not sell. But Anathapindika was very ardent, very pushy about it. And Jeta said, okay, place gold coins across every inch of this whole grove, and it can be yours. Well, Anathapindika said, in modern terms, hold my beer, hold my kombucha, my non-alcoholic kombucha. That's what a lot of Western Buddhists at least seem to drink these days. And he went and he placed gold coins across all of Jeta's grove. And so purchased Jeta's grove. And then that's why you see in the suttas, most of the suttas are Jeta's grove, Anathapindika's monastery. So you have Anathapindika, because of all of his good deeds, being born as a deva. And he comes back and he sees the grove and he has Silanusati. He reflects on his good deeds. This is indeed Jeta's grove, frequented by the Sangha of hermits, where the king of Dhamma stayed. It brings me joy. Deeds, knowledge, and principle, ethical conduct, and excellent livelihood. By these are mortals purified, not by clan or wealth. Kamma vidya cha dhammo cha. Kamma, actions. Dhamma, by the Dhamma. Right? Jivata, excellent livelihood. Sila, virtuous principles. Right? These are, okay. That's why an astute person, seeing what's good for themselves, would examine the teaching rationally and thus be purified in it. Sariputta has true wisdom, ethics, and also peace. Any mendicant who has crossed over can at best equal him. This is what the Deva Anathapindika said. The teacher approved. Then the Deva Anathapindika, knowing that the teacher approved, bowed, respectfully circled the Buddha, keeping him on his right before vanishing right here. Then, when the night had passed, the Buddha told the mendicants all that had happened. When he had spoken, Venerable Ananda said to the Buddha, "Sir, that Deva, God, must surely have been Anathapindika, for the householder Anathapindika was devoted to Venerable Sariputta." Good, Ananda. You've reached the logical conclusion as far as logic goes. For that was indeed the god Anathapindika. That is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, Venerable Ananda was happy with what the Buddha said. All right. So we are an hour in. Checking the chat. Hello, Joy. Rahul says, isn't Sariputta trivializing this a little? Can Anathapindika just stop clinging to everything he spent his entire life clinging to? Well, see, this is the thing. Anathapindika has spent a lot of his life letting go of things. Maybe he didn't become a monastic, but he was practicing letting go. through his generosity, through his sila, practicing letting go. And when somebody comes to the end of their life, might not be a bad, you never know the power of that kind of those final moments. Right? You have in the suttas, you have beings who basically became awakened on their deathbed or right before they were gored by a cow, a bull, things like that. So, somebody who's practiced a good amount of letting go throughout their life. Now, this is the important thing to understand here is Sariputta was not trying to understand that he would become awakened. Very different. But if he was able to let go of enough, he might be a stream enterer. Or he was already a stream enterer, sorry. He might be a non-returner, once returner. Right? So I think Sariputta was understanding with his wisdom that the time was ripe, that he could hear these teachings and it might be of benefit to him in his future lives. Is it fair to speak of Buddha as a prophet? No. A prophet of what? Prophet, at least the common understanding of a prophet that people in the West understand in the Abrahamic traditions, right, of the ancient Jews, the Christians, the Muslims, right? This is somebody who is coming with like a message from God, right? It would not really fit. Or a message, sometimes there's a message, a lot of the ancient Jewish prophets had a message of like end times or like the society falling apart, these kind of things. You'd have to kind of finagle some kind of a like he's the prophet of truth or something like that. But you don't really need the word then. It's not really a word that's needed per se. Hello, Greg. Yeah, I haven't seen you post before, so maybe your previous posts were filtered. All right. So we are over an hour in. The chat's quiet. Sutta's done. Why don't we do our guided meditation? So set your body up in whatever position works best for you for your meditation posture. We'll start by spending a few minutes scanning through the body. Bring your focus and attention to your feet. By focus, this means to pay attention to whatever sensation arises in that part of the body, such as the feeling of the feet pressing against the floor, the cushion, the opposite leg. Bring your focus and attention up through the ankles and into the calves. While you're doing the body scanning, if you have trouble connecting with any sensation, you can prompt yourself by asking, what do I see? What do I feel? And oftentimes, a feeling or sensation will arise in your mind. Bring your awareness up through the knees and into the thighs. Up through to the hips and pelvis. The hips and pelvis are a very important place in your posture, very important part to focus, investigate, and understand. The position of your pelvis will impact your spine and your legs. If you're trying to understand your posture, this is a place to focus on. Bring your awareness up the spine, through the abdomen and the chest. Checking that the spine is in its neutral position, not leaning or slouching here or there. If the spine is leaning and slouching, that will cause pain in the back over time as you sit for longer periods. Bring your focus to your shoulders. Check that they're hanging loosely, not scrunched up and tight. down through to the elbows and hands. The position of the elbows and hands also impacts the spine, so pay attention to how it impacts your posture. And then bring your awareness up to the head, checking that it is also not leaning and slouching. Chin parallel to the floor. When you're done setting up your body in a comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take 3 deep breaths. And then let the breath go. From here on in, try not to manipulate or control the breath in any way. The body breathes on its own. It doesn't need you to do its job. Your job is to simply observe, investigate, and abide with the breath. Watch as this body breathes in. Watch as this body breathes out. Continue to follow the breath as I give instructions on Metta. The practice of Metta uses words and visuals but the words and visuals are a means to the end. The purpose of metta is to develop a mind free of ill will and warm-hearted feelings of friendship for all beings. I will offer words to repeat and also visuals. You can choose to use them as you like. We'll begin our metta practice called Mahagada Cheto Vimutti, exalted release of mind through metta. We'll begin our metta practice with the person we may often have the most agitation towards, the most judgment of, the most aversion towards. That person is ourselves. We cannot hope to share our goodwill with all beings if we have none within us. If you like, you can visualize a sphere, a circle, just big enough to surround you. And as we say the words, pervade and fill that sphere with your goodwill, your friendship. Repeat the lines after me. May I find happiness. May I find peace. May I live in friendship with all beings. May I find release from suffering. Friends, these words are not meant to be a mantra, something that you just repeat over and over again. When you say them, try to do so with an honest, sincere wish that these be true. Like speaking and wishing for a best friend or a close relative. Repeat the words. May I find happiness. May I find peace. May I live in friendship with all beings. May I find release from suffering. If you like, you can visualize an image of yourself in front of you, like looking at yourself in the mirror. You can say the words to that image. Repeat. May I find happiness. May I find peace. May I live in friendship with all beings. May I find release from suffering. If while you're doing this, thoughts arise, saying how this is silly or corny or stupid, then that's how you know it's working. It's poking out all of the ill will in your mind. Keep going. May I find happiness. May I find peace. May I live in friendship with all beings. May I find release from suffering. Fill and pervade that sphere, and we'll start to expand it. Grow your sphere to encompass the entirety of whatever building you're in. Humans, animals, insects, all kinds of beings that might be in the building. Repeat the words. May all of us in this building find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Spread your sphere out to encompass the entirety of whatever town or village or city you're in. Many beings. May all of us in this town find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Spread your sphere to encompass the entirety of whatever state or region or province you're in. If you have a good visualization of that, you can imagine that state or region or province totally encapsulated in your mind by your sphere of metta. Maybe millions, maybe billions of beings, human, animal, insects, unseen beings, whatever beings there may be. May all of us in this state, region, or province find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Spread your sphere out further to encompass whatever country you're in. Millions or billions of beings. May all of us in this country find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Spread your sphere to encompass the entirety of the earth. Trillions of beings, the air, the land, the sea, living out their lives. You can visualize a pale blue dot in a sea of darkness, fully encapsulated by your sphere of metta. May all of us on this planet Earth find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Friends, when we practice metta, we practice like the sun shines its rays down on all beings without distinction, categorization. We don't give our metta to some people and not to others. When we practice metta, things like race don't matter, sex, political affiliation, religious affiliation, sports team, whatever ways we categorize, separate. Metta breaks through barriers. It is limitless. It is exalted. Never hold back your metta towards any being, anywhere. Spread your sphere out into the cosmos to encompass the entirety of our Milky Way galaxy. Billions, hundreds of billions of stars and planets. Who knows how many beings? May all of us in this Milky Way find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Continue to spread your sphere out into the universe, to infinity, encapsulating this universe, multiple universes, dimensions, wherever there may be beings. Who knows where there may be beings? Leave no being outside of your sphere of metta. May all of us everywhere find happiness. May all of us find peace. May all of us live in friendship with each other. May all of us find release from suffering. Come back through the universe to the earth, the room, your body, opening your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you, the live stream. Compare your mind, the state of your mind, the tone of your mind from before the meditation to how it is now. And you can also reflect on any insights or experiences that you may have had, what you may have learned from them. Diego asks, before we started our meditation, why not cling to a better rebirth? Isn't that Kusala Chanda? Yeah, it's not bad. There's better. I mean, at minimum, definitely cling to a better rebirth. But if you want to go further, then it requires dropping the world's bait. Right? One of my favorite lines from the Dhammapada, when a deva comes and does a rap battle with the Buddha, and he says, old age is coming in. There's no refuge from old age. Knowing this, old age and death are coming in. One should drop the world's bait. No. One should do deeds of merit that bring about peace. And the Buddha responds, old age is coming in. There's no refuge to old age, sickness, and death. Knowing this, one should drop the world's bait and look for peace. So the Buddha, if you're ready to go a next step, then the next step is dropping the world's bait. It's not attaching to anything, it's letting go. That's the step. Until then, you're fine to practice for heaven. No problems. It's better than acting unskillfully and creating all kinds of bad karma for yourself. All right. So friends, why don't we read some Dhammapada, huh? If you have any questions, you're free to put them in the chat, but we are coming to the end. I suspect there's probably not much for people to say. So let's read some Dhammapada and then we'll end out. The just. Not by passing arbitrary judgments does a man become just. A wise man is he who investigates both right and wrong. He who does not judge others arbitrarily, but passes judgment impartially, according to the truth, that sagacious man is a guardian of law and is called just. One is not wise because one speaks much. He who is peaceable, friendly, and fearless is called wise. A man is not well versed in the Dhamma because he speaks much. He who, after hearing a little Dhamma, realizes its truth directly and is not heedless of it, is truly versed in the Dhamma. A monk is not an elder because his head is gray. He is but ripe in age, and he is called one grown in vain. One in whom there is truthfulness, virtue, inoffensiveness, restraint, and self-mastery, who is free from defilements and is wise. He is truly called an elder. Not by mere eloquence, nor by beauty of form, does a man become accomplished, if he is jealous, selfish, and deceitful. But he in whom there are wholly destroyed, uprooted, and extinct, these are, and who has cast out hatred, that wise man is truly accomplished. Not by shaven head does a man who is indisciplined and untruthful become a monk. How can he who is full of desire and greed be a monk? He who wholly subdues evil, both small and great, is called a monk, because he has overcome all evil. He is not a monk just because he lives on others' alms. Not by adopting outward form does one become a true monk. Whoever here in this dispensation lives a holy life, transcending both merit and demerit, and walks with understanding in this world, he is truly called a monk. Not by observing silence does one become a sage. If he be foolish and ignorant, but that man is wise who, as if holding a balanced scale, accepts only the good. The sage, thus rejecting the evil, is truly a sage, since he comprehends both present and future worlds. He is called the sage. He is not noble who injures living beings. He is called noble because he is harmless towards all living beings. Not by rules and observances, not even by much learning, nor by gain of absorption, nor by a life of seclusion, nor by thinking, I enjoy the bliss of renunciation, which is not experienced by the worldling, should you, O monks, rest content until the utter destruction of the cankers is reached. The path. Of all the paths, the Noble Eightfold Path is the best. Of all the truths, the Four Noble Truths are the best. Of all things, passionlessness is the best. Of men, the seeing one, the Buddha, is the best. This is the only path. There is none other for the purification of insight. Tread this path, and you will bewilder Mara. Walking upon this path, you will make an end of suffering. Having discovered how to pull out the thorn of lust, I make known the path. You yourself must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. Those meditative ones who tread the path are released from the bonds of Mara. All conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This is the path to purification. All conditioned things are unsatisfactory. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This is the path to purification. All things are not self. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This is the path to purification. The idler who does not exert himself when he should, who though young and strong is full of sloth, when a mind full of vain thoughts, such an indolent man does not find the path of wisdom. Let a man be watchful of speech, well controlled in mind, and not commit evil in bodily action. Let him purify these three courses of action and win the path made known by the great sage. Wisdom springs from meditation. Without meditation, wisdom wanes. Having known these two paths of progress and decline, let a man so conduct himself that his wisdom may gain increase. Cut down the forest of lust, but not the tree. From the forest springs fear. Having cut down the forest and the underbrush, be passionlessness, O monk. For so long as the underbrush of desire, even the most subtle of man towards a woman, is not cut down, his mind is in bondage, like the sucking calf to its mother. Cut off your affection in the manner of a man who plucks with his hand an autumn lotus. Cultivate only the path to peace, nibbana, as made known by the exalted ones. Here shall I live during the rains, here in winter and summer. Thus thinks the fool. He does not realize the danger that death might intervene. As a great flood carries away a sleeping village, so death seizes and carries away the man with a clinging mind, dotting on his children and cattle. Doting. For him who is assailed by death, there is no protection by kinsmen. None there are to save him. not sons, not father, not relatives. Realizing this fact, let the wise man restrained by morality hasten to clear the path leading to Nibbana. All right, friends. So I'm losing energy. We're almost to the end. I think we're going to call it a night. So let me do the final business before we do our sharing of merits and close out. So, friends, if you would like to keep in contact with me and find out the various things I'm doing, from retreats, YouTube streams, Insight Timer streams, all the various things, articles, videos, etc., you can go to Maggasekha.org, which is scrolling on the screen below, and you can click on the top right. You can put your email, sign up, and whenever I post something new, you'll get an email. Likewise, on YouTube, you can click the bell, subscribe, click the bell, and whenever I do a live stream or a video pops up, you can find out the new things that are coming up. We also have a Maggasekha online community on Discord program, which is a community that studies and practices in accords with the early Buddhist texts, the suttas, as we've read tonight. We are not a general Buddhist community, but if that is something that sounds interesting to you, you can send an email to the email on the screen and ask for an invite, and you can join. Check it out. All right. Here we go. Dukkha patta chane dukkha, bhaya patta chane bhaya, soka patta chane soka, hontu sabbe pipaniyo, etta vatta cha mehi sampatang punya sampatang, sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya, akasatta chabumata deva naga mahedika, punyang tang anumoditva charang rakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, friends, that concludes another Dhammapalooza. Until next time, I wish you a very spiritually successful and peaceful practice. Sukhi Hotu, may you be well and at ease. Until next time, practice well and be well.